Hi, my name is Glenn Sparks, and I live with my wife and children in a very remote area of Southern Oregon. And for the next few minutes, I want to tell you a story about a project we call Network Goodness. But before I do that, I want to warn you, this is going to be potentially uncomfortable, even painful. Change, even for the better, sometimes can be a very uncomfortable process. But you're going to have to think outside of the box, because I promise you, you've never heard a story quite like this before. I was very blessed to be raised in a household by parents that taught me some eternal principles of life that are irrefutable, axiomatic. Well, even if you don't believe them, they're true. But there was one of the principles that they taught me, not just by their words, but also by example. And it was a principle that there are rewards, blessings, if you will, for those that have regard for the poor and less fortunate. And they taught me this not just by their words, but by their actions. When I was very young, we began supporting a Korean orphan by the name of Kim Jo-duk. We didn't have much in the way of financial resources ourselves growing up, so I know the things that we did were relatively very small. But I remember always having the feeling that I wish we could do more. Chances are you're a lot like me. You have a burden to help, but you always have the feeling that what you're able to do is so small in comparison to the need. There are 6 million children right now under the age of 5 dying every year because of starvation and poverty. 6 million children. That's more than 18,000 children every day. Now, just to give this a little perspective, all of us are familiar with the devastation that happened in Japan just a short while ago, a 9.0 magnitude earthquake and the tsunami that ensued. I remember watching the devastation from my hotel room. It was on every channel. It was the first time in human history when they had such advance warning that there were TV helicopters in the sky filming everything, the decimation that these people experienced. Now just imagine if that happened again tonight while you slept, and tomorrow night, and the next night. It strains the imagination to even visualize that such a thing were possible. But it did happen. And it will happen again tonight and tomorrow and the next day with no media, no heads of state, no investigations, yet more than 18,000 children under the age of 5 die every day of preventable causes directly related to malnutrition. That's 1 every 5.4 seconds. But we as human beings have a coping mechanism. It's called avert your eyes. Look the other way. And it's not that we're evil. It's not that we're bad people. It's just simply that when something happens that we feel so impotent to do something about it, the problem is just so big, we just feel powerless, so we look the other way. We change the channel. We flip to the sports page. After all, they're not our children. And things are actually being exacerbated by the fact of the downturn in the global economy. Conservative estimates tell us that approximately 400,000 more children will die this year than last year. And let's face it, it's hard to focus on the needs of starving children on the other side of the world when we ourselves are becoming our own best charity cases. Giving is down, and as benevolent as we are as a people, 96% of all that we give stays within our borders. That means that 4% actually goes to benefit the people of the third world countries. And of course, we want to help our neighbors. We want to help the people that we can see. We want to help the stories that we can hear with our neighbors. But guess what? The people in the third world countries don't have any neighbors. If we don't help them, they die. And with 6 million children every year falling through the cracks, let's face it, we're not doing very well at doing good. We just haven't had the mechanism in place. To address such a massive problem, we must employ the efforts of the masses to solve it. But therein lies the rub. How can normal people, average everyday people, like you and like me, how can we do anything significant? What if there was one solution to both problems? What if you could feed starving children while at the same time creating your own personal economy? Let me introduce to you the Network Goodness Project. It's a paradigm shift in the mechanism by which charitable giving has been done in the past. Don't get me wrong, charitable giving is good, but creating a self-funding, perpetually growing, fund-generating machine is better. Now, by a paradigm shift, I want you to mentally move yourself out of the realm of being just a contributor or a donor and being an actual worker in the charitable effort. It's much like the principle they introduced to you on any airline in the world when you get on and they give the pre-flight instructions and they say, if we lose cabin pressure, oxygen masks will fall from the ceiling. Put your own mask on first. Now, why do they do that? Do they think that you love yourself more than you love your children? Do they want you to care for your own life more than the lives of your children? No, it's simply you have to put yourself into a position where you can help. Let's face it, the worst thing that you can do for the poor is to be one of them. You can't be part of the solution if you're part of the problem. This project is the brainchild of 6 philanthropist businessmen who have a heart for starving children. In 2007, they introduced a life-changing product, the Zango Goodness Meal Pack. This product is a meal replacement program and is the first step out of starvation. A dry powder formulation for the severely malnourished, it helps strengthen those who cannot properly digest solid food due to long periods of poverty or famine or other disasters. And it's effective in meeting basic nutritional needs by simply adding water. Just being able to add water means that this meal pack can be utilized in so many more places around the world where food is urgently needed. This whole meal pack idea is part of the DNA of our 6 founders. Before they ever brought their first product to market, they committed 7% of their company's net profits to children's charities. It's what I call a pay-it-forward pledge. It's different than the concept of paying back that some companies do. A lot of companies, after they become prosperous and successful, will pay back and make significant donations and charitable contributions. The difference here is this was a pledge made in advance, a pay-it-forward pledge. And I believe that that's one of the reasons this company has been so blessed and has broken all kinds of records for our industry and for all of American business. Over the last 8 years, they've been able to give tens of millions of dollars to children's charities. And I believe that locking in to that eternal principle that my parents taught me when I was a kid, of having regard for the poor and less fortunate, is one of the reasons this company has been so incredibly blessed. Now, we've formed an alliance with AmeriCares for the distribution of this product. AmeriCares is one of the top 5 disaster relief organizations in the world and has an impeccable track record of almost 30 years. They provided more than $9 billion of aid to over 137 countries. Teaming up with them as our distribution partner ensures that those most in need will receive this vital nutrition. And it also puts those checks and balances in place to ensure that the meals you purchase actually get delivered to the starving children. You don't take delivery of the meal packs or carry any inventory. You simply place your monthly order using our automated system, and the meals are delivered by AmeriCares directly to the starving children. Please understand, we are not trying to simply solicit donations to help feeding starving children. As noble as that effort might be, we are asking you to consider doing something much more significant. We are asking that you consider being the part of something truly profound. You can be directly responsible for the birth of a geometric progression that results in the multiplication of your efforts by tens, hundreds, even thousands of times. Instead of you just purchasing meal packs to feed starving children, we are asking you to do that, but also to make a commitment to finding just 3 others who will join us in this project, only 3. This will result in a geometric progression with individuals who will be involved in the perpetuation of this process. But let me just share something with you by way of confession. When I was first exposed to this project, I didn't get it. I didn't have a box for this. I didn't have a pigeonhole to fit this whole concept. Why did a for-profit charitable effort make sense? I had never seen it. That's just not the way it's done. Quite frankly, that was the only hurdle I had to overcome. What I called charity was done for free. If you had something that was really good, it should be done without cost, right? That was my hang-up. But I noticed in my own logic it didn't apply to anything else in life. I mean, after all, medical doctors and nurses and research scientists, they work in the realm of doing good for sick people. They're not taking advantage of sick people. They're servicing sick people, but they make money in the process. They earn incomes in the process, and rightfully so. And after all, traditional charities pay their staffs, their workers, and quite frankly, I work with a lot of Christian ministers, people that earn their living in the ministry. They're paid a salary for their services. Most pastors and priests are paid some type of remuneration for their services. You don't have to be financially independent to go into the ministry. It all came together to me when a pastor friend of mine used this illustration. He said that somewhere right now there's a truck driver picking up meal packs from a manufacturing facility somewhere, loading them onto his truck and taking them down to the docks where they're going to be loaded on a ship going to the Sudan to feed starving children. And he may get some warm, fuzzy feelings about the fact that he's doing something more than just driving truck for a living. He's actually a wheel in the machinery that's getting food to starving children. But we wouldn't dare go to that truck driver and ask him to donate his services. After all, this is a charitable effort. We want you to donate your time. He couldn't participate if we were to ask that of him. So the paradigm shift that we talk about is moving yourself out of the realm of being a donor or contributor and into the realm of being a worker in the project. When my wife Gayla and I went to Cambodia this last year and worked side by side with AmeriCares, mixing up these meal packs and feeding these meals to these starving and malnourished children there, not one of these children raised the concern of whether or not there was a profit being made on the distribution of this food. They were simply thankful that we'd come halfway around the world to share food with them. Now, certainly our trip to Cambodia was a life-changing event for us. We'll never be the same. But it was also almost a life-ending event for me personally. On the 17-hour flight from Bangkok to L.A., something happened to me that the doctors called pulmonary emboli that set my heart into atrial fibrillation, and I immediately went into the hospital not knowing if I was going to live or if I was going to die. I had this calm, quiet assurance, peace, if you will, that two very important things had taken place. Number one, I'd been able to put in place a financial foundation that was going to take care of my wife and our two special needs children if anything would happen to me. We'd been able to put in place a residual income that was going to take care of my family in the event of my absence. And also we had done something very significant in our embryonic stages with this project. Through my efforts and the efforts of a few others of like mind, we had started something that was going to do something very significant on the world hunger issue, even if I were taken out of the picture, even if I was not here to see it personally. So just ask yourself the question, what if it was possible that you could get involved with us in this project with no major capital investment, no technical knowledge or skill sets, no huge time commitments, no employees, no selling of products to your friends, neighbors, and relatives, having only a 20-second commute to your office, all while providing food to starving, malnourished children? Sound too good to be true? Quick question. Is that a good enough reason not to look further? Our story here takes a very interesting twist, and you are in control of the twist. Either we can part company and be friends and wish each other well and go our merry ways, or you can actually become the hero of our story. You can decide to do something significant toward the eradication of world hunger. Now, the next step is to take a look at what we call the Emissary of Life challenge. This is the engine that drives our child-feeding machine. My personal objective is not to be just a milepost along your way, but to be a fork in your road. And I hope you'll take the next step with us. The next step is simply to explore things further, to get your questions answered, and then to take a look at the very real possibility of rolling up your sleeves and working side by side, hand in hand with a lot of others of like mind, and join us in this movement. Think about it, earning a living by providing food to hungry children. Doing well while doing good. How cool is that?